there. Okay. Yo brahmanam vidadhati purvam yo vai vedamscha prahinoti tasmai tam hadeva atma buddhi prakasham mumukshurvai sharanamaham prapadde. So we saw yesterday how surrender is what can take us out of bondage. Mumukshurvai, I want to be free. And hence I surrender. Sharanamaham prapadde. Often we tend to think if I want moksha, I need to become independent. The idea of surrender has always been losing one's freedom. If I lose the war, then I surrender. But when it comes to the Vedic tradition, it has always been surrender to win. To attain the highest is surrender. Like Gurudev says, a drop meeting the ocean gains the magnanimity of the ocean. It just surrenders its limitedness. So, what is worth surrendering? The idea of limitedness is worth surrendering. All the negativity is worth surrendering. And so, in when it comes to the spiritual path, surrender is extolled. And then it is defined also very beautifully, recognizing that there is something that is running this show. That's it. Often, when we put all the burden of of doing things on ourselves, then when something goes wrong, then we become miserable. And that affects our ability to act in the situation ahead. So, if we really want to be efficient, if we really want to leave the past behind, and maybe you were looking to get married and you saw many people, and if you're not able to let go, then you keep having this, especially if you're a gentleman, you say, oh my God, I was talking to that person, and maybe that person got a little upset. How can I? But no, you just move on and surrender that. Anything that pinches you, surrender. So, in that sense, surrender is the way to move forward, to be to be more efficient, both in this world and in and when it comes to the spirit. So then we saw how mm, let's see. So then we saw once you surrender, once you attain the peace, once that devotion is there, atha yogam vyakhyāsyāma. Now we can speak about yoga. Now it makes sense to even walk on the path of yoga. To some extent, we all surrender. Without a sense of surrender, sleep can never happen. When we keep holding on, then sleep doesn't come. For sleep to happen, surrender is essential. So every night we actually practice surrender. We let go and say, okay, die. Every I'm done controlling the world. I'm going to relax, let go. Even if you hold on to the keys and go to sleep, when you sleep, your hands open up. So, figuratively. So, in that sense, we have surrender is nothing new to us. We've all practiced it. When we are able to understand and recognize how we can use it in our day-to-day life, then we can start talking about yoga. Then the next steps can follow. Without 2 plus 2 equals 4, then calculus very difficult. Unless I get the basics of addition and subtraction right, I can't go on to the higher concepts, ideas of mathematics. In the same way, Atha Yogam Vyakhyāsyāma. First, we talk about the basics, what is the prerequisite, and then we go forward. And so yesterday I forgot to give homework, and I'm sure many of us are missing it. So we'll do it today. Let's look at how we can understand surrender, recognizing that small day-to-day things that we're doing, that is actually surrender. When we recognize that it's not just me who's in control, but there are so many other factors that make things happen. I press the switch, but unless the electricity comes from the main station, the light is not going to turn on. Often we think I press the switch, that's why the light turned on. Yes, of course, to a limited extent, yes. But there are other factors also involved. I put the seed in the soil, but did I make the sapling germinate? No. I was part of the process, yes. But recognizing I'm not the complete process, that is surrender. So let's look at our whole life. Let's look at whatever we are doing in office, whether in our professional life, personal life, and recognizing that, hey, there are so many other factors at work. That for me is surrender. So let's do that as a homework for tomorrow. I've started with the homework today. So then, he says, Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. And we have heard this so many times. Subsiding, not eliminating the thoughts, but subsiding. Nirodha. Nirodha means to have put a stop on the flow. There is such, and going ahead, the Rishi actually explains what does it mean. Then he says, Tatascha Paramatmana Samavaya. That's when you can have communion with the divine. When the vrittis subside, that is when we can perceive that divinity. It's only when the mind is calm that we're able to perceive. When the dust settles down, then you're able to see. In the same way, when the vrittis subside, Paramatmana Samavaya. And then he says, Guru Rantikam Yogam Abhyasyet. In this process, make sure you recognize the Guru, that which is vast. Laghu means small, Guru means that which is big. So recognizing the vastness, recognizing that there is something that's infinite, there is something that's bigger, that allows that humility to stay. And then we come to the next sutra. So all this was a recap from yesterday, just a short recap. So then he says, Sarasyavartadiva vrittihi antahkarana parinama. Sarasya. Saras means a lake. Sarasya Vartadiva. Just like the whirlpool, there's a lake and the water is spinning around. It's not going anywhere. He didn't say it's a river, but he said it's a lake. All the water is there. Yet there is a movement there in the water. The water is in a whirlpool. In the same way, Antakarana Parinama. When there is a whirlpool in the Antakarana, in the inner modes of our consciousness, then that gives rise to the vrittis. Just like the waves arise in water, it is not different from the water. It is but a part of water. Yet there is a wave, it exists. So Gurudev says very beautifully here, you can spend your whole life worrying, grumbling, brooding, or you can use the same energy to uplift yourself to unimaginable heights. It is one energy, one wave, that is your mind. Like a whirlpool, the waves also come in the same water, and the same water is made into a wave. The waves arise in the water, and the water becomes the wave. The wave is the water. In the same way, our mind, there is so much energy there. Either it can go into worrying, focusing, doing all kinds of things, or it can rise itself to unimaginable heights. And that is our role as a sadhak, to see how I can channelize this, this antakarana, this the inner modes of our inner faculties. How do I? So the antakarana, when karana means that which acts, antaha means inside. When we look at our existence, there are some actions that are happening outside. I'm speaking, the waves are traveling, sound waves are traveling outside, is having an impact on the environment. My hands are doing something, I make things, I listen to music. So there's a lot of action that is related to the outside. But antakarana is all the action that's happening inside, that which is subtle. And so antakarana are considered to be the four. It's one consciousness, but it operates in four modes. Just like maybe at home we have a different name, we do different things, and at office we probably are addressed in a different way, and we perform a different set of activities. You are the same person, yet the way you behave at home with your friends is different from the way you behave at colleagues with them. So in the same way, the same consciousness has become the mind, the intellect, the memory, and the ego. These are called the antakarana. So, what is the antakarana? The mind is that which is related to the outside, the interface between the outside and the inside. All uh, perception happens from there, all expression happens from there. Now, whatever the mind perceives, the intellect analyzes. And whatever the intellect analyzes, the memory stores. And whatever the memory stores, that creates our identity. So these are the four ways in which the antakarana, from the outer to the innermost to the outermost. These are the four antakaranas that are there. So why is it interesting to know about this? Why are we even talking about this? Then it comes to the next sutra. It says the next mantra, which says Chitta Murtimati Sacha Pratihata Shakti. The consciousness which has become, it has become the manifest world. Chitta Murtimati. Murti means a form. So this is a very interesting concept, a very interesting idea. Chitta Murtimati. The consciousness has become the form. If you look at a television, it is an object. It is there right in front of you, your laptop or your device, or so many objects. Our world is filled with objects. Now, if you look very carefully, each of that object started off as a thought in someone's mind. So the seed for that object, the source of that object was actually the mind, a thought, the consciousness. So in that sense, if you look at it, this whole manifest world is there in the consciousness. Now, for example, you are listening to me, seeing me, hopefully, and the only confidence that you can say, the only thing that you can be confident about is the fact that your mind is perceiving something. The only input that you have is your five senses. And it's only when the five senses convey the information to the mind, it is the mind that is perceiving. So all perception is happening in the antakarana, inside you. So if I see a cloud, is the cloud real? I can only say that my perception of the cloud is real. So many times we have perceived so many things only to find out that it doesn't exist. It was just an illusion. A movie, 24 frames per second, it's actually still images, yet it looks like movement to us. And the whole perception happens in the mind. So, in one sense, when we look at it, the whole of this outer world actually exists inside this little bulb, this head of ours, inside this consciousness, inside us. What our ancient rishis did was so beautifully come up with this idea that, hey, what we think of as the outside world is actually inside. Now you'll say, well, very good, nice. I can say, wow, 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 but I still have to go to office tomorrow. What big deal? But when we start looking at this whole world as something that is within the consciousness, this manifest world is actually happening right here within me. Then over a period of time, such a pratihata shakti, it has the ability to change the world. The consciousness changes the world. If you look at the impact that man has had on the environment, this is so obvious. There is so much that the consciousness impacts on the world. When I recognize this, when I put my attention on this, when I start training myself about this, then so much is possible. We have not even scratched the surface of what is possible. I really thought that I had been meditating for so many years and blah, 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 all of that. And when Gurudev came up with the Shakti Kriya program, I suddenly realized, oh my God, I had not even scratched the surface of what sadhana can do to our existence. And just when I was getting comfortable with that, up came the Sanyam program and it transformed the whole idea. Even today, when you look at some of these children doing the intuition process, it's just phantasmagoric, whatever you can say. It is supercalifragilistic, amazing. And that is the power of the consciousness. So the more we are able to recognize, use this sutra. Now you'll say, well, Kashi Bhaiya, now you're going into really esoteric territory and it sounds very nice, but I'd rather put my feet on the floor and keep doing my work and keep using my intellect. Yes, yes, yes. No one says don't do that. But there is a there is a possibility of strengthening this quality of our putting more attention on the inner that allows us to make an impact on the manifest world. Chitta Murtimati, such a Pratihata Shakti. It has that Shakti, it has the ability to make an Pratihata. Hata means actually to kill, but Pratihata means to have an impact, to transform, to make a difference. So the Chitta has the power of changing the outside. That is why the ancient rishis, with their meditation, were able to come up with such amazing sciences. Surgery of Sushruta, Charaka's Samhita of the pharma, the medicine, materia medica, all of these are so amazing that in those days, the astronomers, without any of those telescopes, they were still able to accurately measure and put down all these findings. Now, I'm not saying that, hey, the past was great, the present is hopeless. No, no, I'm not saying that at all. Yet, I'm saying there are so many, what we think is modern science, maybe 50 years back, people have said, no way, this is all science fiction. But today, it's a reality. So then, if you, in fact, in this Yogasara Upanishad, Gurudev actually says that one day there'll be flying cars and you just have to sit in your chair and you'll get transported to some other place. Even now, it seems quite fantastic, but it's going to be a reality, I guess. Soon, who knows? Self-driving cars are already here. Who knows what all can come up. Anyway, so then the next mantra goes, Uddhritam Manashchitam Yat Prabhavat Vrittaya. This is one of the most brilliant explanations of how a thought arises. So in the previous mantra, it says that Pratihata Shakti, this consciousness has the impact of, has the ability to make an impact. And what impairs it? All the vrittis that arise, that that keep us entangled in the whirlpool and not allow us to look at the depth that is there in stillness. So then he says, Uddhritam Manaschittam Yat Prabhavat Pratyaya. And the mind stirs the memory, then a thought arises. What a brilliant way of looking at how thoughts arise. So, for example, a thought came up now, and you'll notice that it is based on something that was there in the memory. Can you really have a new thought? Ask yourself. You know, when Gurudev says this on the tape, for me, every time I hear this, it's an eye opening experience. I say, yes, of course, whatever thoughts I put together are based on something that I, if I come up with a new thought, I won't even know it's a new thought unless I'm able to associate it with something that has been my experience in the past. The words that I've learned, mm, the letters, sounds, all of these are based on something that I've already experienced. Uddhritam Manashchitam, when the mind stirs the memory, the mind perceives through the senses, and whatever I've seen, heard, when I correlate it to the memory, that's when a thought arises. When I hear some language that I've never heard before, then I correlate it with my memory and I say it's not there in the memory, and a thought arises, I don't know this language. I know these sounds, but I don't know this language. So, Uddhritam Manaschittam Yat Prabhavat Vritti. I'm not saying everything is there in the memory, but it's only when the mind stirs the memory that a vritti arises. Now, this gives us a very big hint why Patanjali says Abhyasa and Vairagya. When the mind is stirring the memory, vritti is arising. So, if you want to stop the vritti from arising, there's two things that we can do. One, stop stirring the stop getting the mind to stir the memory, or empty out the memory. So, even if the mind stirs, there's nothing to stir. Does this make sense what I'm saying? When we stop the mind from stirring the memory, that's vairagya. We don't allow the outside world to have an impact. In the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, it says, Drishta Anushravika Vishaya Vitrishnasya Vashikara Sangya Vairagya. What you've heard and what you have perceived through your senses, when you can have a say over it, when you don't allow it to, then that's Vairagya. And emptying out your memory, the storehouse, that is Abhyasa. What do we do in our Abhyasa? Tatra sthitau yatnau Abhyasa, to be established in the form of the seer. All the things that are cluttering it up, emptying it. Every time we do this darshan kriya, feels something is emptied. Every time you come, do an advanced course, silence course, go into this hollow and empty meditation, it feels so relieving. So here the Rishi, the Yogasara Upanishad gives a clue. Dhritam Manashchittam Yat Prabhavat Vrittaya. When the mind stirs the memory, that's when a thought arises. That's when the vrittis arise. And so, if you really want to calm down, these are the two things we need to do. Isn't this amazing? Oh, it's already 9:30 now. One more mantra and then we'll call it a night. We can't call it a day. Buddhi prayuktam mano bahendriyam dwarikritya vishayam pratipadyate. Okay, I think we can keep this for tomorrow. But just this idea that the consciousness has such enormous power that we saw today, and then when we harness that power, then there is the ability to change the world. And what is it that prevents it? When the mind stirs the memory, then vrittis arise, and that interferes with our ability to, to have the pratihata shakti, to have the shakti that impacts us. To a certain extent, we are all impacting the world, isn't it? We are all making some difference. If there's wheat flour or whatever, some flour, and then you go to the kitchen, make chapatis out of it. Your thought, I want to make chapatis, has made an impact on the world outside. Now, that can be a very simplistic way of looking at it. But through our mind, we have an impact on so many people's lives. We take decisions. There is so much that's happening in the world. Often we keep it limited to the level of the intellect. But when we meditate, when we go deeper inside, when we enliven the antakarana, then we're able to have an impact from all the four antakaranas: the mind, the memory, the intellect, and the ego. If you really want to do seva, you want to make a difference to the world, you say, oh, I'm going to go all out, I'm going to do this. That drive comes from the ahankara. So, not that the ahankara is bad all the time, it's neither good nor bad. But when we recognize that this is the antakarana, this sense of identity that allows me to make a difference to the world, so then we are able to harness the antakarana, so to speak. Harness is really not the appropriate word, but we recognize the potential of the antakarana in changing the world. We utilize some aspects of it, the intellect to take some decisions, yes, of course, but there is so much more to our antakarana. And a lot of times when we are doing our sadhana, when we are meditating, all these things, we don't realize the connection between our sadhana and the decisions. But as we go along, a lot of it starts becoming more obvious. That's why people tend to continue on the spiritual path, because they start seeing that even though I don't understand how it's happening, it's still happening. It's making a difference to my life. And that's why the Yogasara Upanishad gives us a framework to understand this connection between the Antakarana and the external world. How our spiritual practices can be such a great tool to not only go deeper into the self, not only understand at a spiritual level, but also very, very practical in our day-to-day life. Very nice. So, anyone other than Nina who'd like to say something can unmute themselves and say.
Rashidji, um, I thought there's another thing to add to this. One is that you have the ability to change the world, yes.
Mhm.
But what it also does more for me, rather than changing the world, is it changes your perceptions, and you see, you have a different worldview. Your worldview changes, and you see things the way they are. And so two things are happening.
That's a perception. When you say you see things the way they are, that's your perception.
Okay. So, yeah. And the other thing is this samarpan. We had agreed that's a better word than surrender. Remember long ago when we had talked? So I wanted to know the root of samarpan. If any, I mean, if you can make that word clearer for me, samarpan,
Arpan means offering, and
offering.
sama means equanimity or balanced. So, an offering that brings balance.
Oh, so that makes more sense than surrender. Somehow,
Mhm.
you know, there are certain, like Rit, which means cosmic order. In English, you have two words, but in our culture, we have one word that means the rishis knew from the beginning that there was some cosmic order. And in the West, they found out later and they added the word order on. You know, so there are many Sanskrit words that make you that help you much better understand what all this is. And
Absolutely.
surrender is one
Absolutely.
of them. When I hear surrender, my mind doesn't understand. But when I hear samarpan, immediately my mind
Perfect.
understands. You know?
Perfect. So I can see Ekta wants to say something. Ekta.
Yes. Namaskar, Kashi Bhaiya.
Namaste.
Kashi Bhaiya, so how do you not let the memory come when you take any kind of, when you understand any situation or you take any kind of decisions?
Mhm.
Like you said, we always base on something that we've heard or some experience or something. So how do you not let that happen? Is there something in our hands that you do, or only by sadhana it slowly withers away?
Yeah, definitely by sadhana, but also by, for example, every act of service, for example, all seva that we do tends to get some of these impressions away. In the same way, all the knowledge, all this insight, something clicks inside. It's not what Kashibhaya is saying that is knowledge, but what it creates inside you, some aha, that is knowledge. And that takes away some of that our dependence on our impressions. It's like when I have there's a paper and maybe something is typed wrongly, then I know in the old days when people used to typewrite, use a typewriter and make the letters, and in 10th standard, in Gujarat, I grew up in Ahmedabad, and for
Yes.
10th standard, the most scoring subject was typewriting. So I actually went for 1 year, learned how to use a typewriter. And that stood me in good stead all these years later when typing on a keyboard. But that was just a side story. But the whole idea is that when hmm, we when we look at how our memory uh, is it makes some mistakes. For example, just like you have typewritten something and maybe one letter was off, instead of typing the whole page again, you take a whitener and then put some whitener out there, erase it, and then you type on top of that. So, in the same way, knowledge has this ability. When you get a new insight, it helps to remove some of the older impressions that were there. So that too is another way of overcoming the our dependence on the memory so much. Does that make sense, Ektaji?
Yes, yes. So as you get more exposed to, let's say, people who've already reached there, or some kind of experiences that you have and you realize it was your mistake, that is how you tend to reach, or like satsangs, and when you people like you share knowledge, that is how slowly you gravitate towards not getting dependent on memory and taking decisions, is what I think
Yeah,
I'm understanding.
sure. So, for example, the vritti arises because the mind stirs the memory, udhritam manaschittam. So, when it's stirring, if you have mirchi that is being stirred, it's going to fly and sit in your eyes,
Correct.
cause you to cry.
Yeah.
But if you fill your cup with something that is soft and nice, and ice cream, for example, then if you stir it, you're only going to get more milkshake, if you get what I'm saying.
Correct,
So,
correct.
so if we fill up our cup with something that is, so every time we do seva, we're filling up our cup of impressions with something that is nicer. So when the mind stirs, also what comes out is not something that is something that is life supporting, so to speak.
Right. So correct ingredients in is correct product out.
Absolutely, garbage in, garbage out. Yes, Bakulji.
Actually, yeah, I think this is a fascinating aspect, which at least that every person, my consciousness has the potential to impact the world. It's not that only certain wise people or certain people of certain attained a certain level, they can only impact the world. It's everybody's mind has a potential.
Yeah.
But then you said that the mind stirs up the memory, therefore thoughts arise.
Mhm.
But is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, I understand that if mind stirs the memory and vrittis arise, that's not such a good thing. You have to control. But if a mind stirs the memory and you see something today and that
Mhm.
stirs the memory, and as you associate with something which you have stored in your memory, and therefore a new idea is formed or a new
Mhm.
invention is formed, then that's not a really bad thing.
Yeah.
So how do you gel the two things? I mean,
So in a very spiritual context, so to speak, the whole idea is life is happening right now, and every bit of our memory has to do with the past. So when we tend to get caught up in our memory, then it's like a whirlpool. You go on, and one memory gives rise to another, and another association, and so on. Whereas by living in the present moment is when we are really free to be acting as we need to right now.
Yeah, she's done it.
So
natural.
it's like
So
to
fast, yeah. Look at your
even
emails.
even if it seems as if that that hey, my memories are giving rise to something so beautiful, yet again, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but I'm saying that it interferes with our ability to live the present moment to its fullest. And and if I look at Gurudev, the way Gurudev functions, he's so much in the present moment. So he might meet someone and that person has done uh, a, a big mistake. Next day, Gurudev meets that person and there is no iota of hanging on to the past, and the relationship, the way
Yes.
Gurudev interacts is so beautiful. And so for me, that is the essence of this sutra that allows me to be more effective in whatever I'm doing.
That makes a lot of sense. It also, can you say that because the mind interacts with the memory, it does not allow your consciousness to blossom to its fullest extent,
Yeah,
or completely free of everything and to really manifest itself.
so
I mean,
beautiful. Absolutely. It's like I think the best example to think of is like a ship that has been anchored, and because it's anchored, it's not able to move.
Yeah.
We anchor ourselves to the past with our memories, and that does not allow us to keep moving. Maybe it's or like thinking of trying to drive the car with the handbrake on. You're still maybe driving, it spoils the engine, you're still going slow, but if you let go of the handbrake, then you're going at your optimum speed, at what you're designed to go at.
correct, correct. Thank you, Kashibhaiya.
Asha ji, I think you've also.
Yes, Kashivaya. Mine is not a question, it's more like fill in the blanks. So you had said somewhere when whatever mind perceives, intellect analyzes, and whatever the intellect analyzes, memory stores, and then I missed the next one.
All
So-
that the memory stores creates our identity. So if I say,
Ah.
who am I? I'm the guy who went to IIT, I did this, I did that, I met this person. All my past creates this identity that I hold on to. So that
Yes.
is the ego, the ahankara.
That's the ego. Yes, that's beautiful. Thank you.
Raji.
Yeah. So Kashibhaiya, one question in my mind. Maybe I'm thinking this through my intellect, so pardon me for that. So you mentioned that putting attention on the inside world can transform the way you see the outside world. So which basically you're saying that the consciousness changes that world, your consciousness. So what is it? Because you're not, because it's not coming from your memory, something new happens. Is that a thought, or is that a perception? What is it?
So it could just be the source of your action. Say, supposing you have to
It's the
take a
action.
decision, and a lot of times we base it on the intellect, and those maybe a part of it is based on my past experiences, but a lot of times you forget that there is another layer that is much deeper that can give rise to that eureka. So Archimedes said eureka when he actually let go of everything and he was totally relaxed. So the intellect was not active there, the memory was not active, he was not trying to remember, and then he said eureka. So in that sense, if you look at what the experience of great thinkers of the West or the East, all the rishis, they went into meditation and then brought out the knowledge. So all of this points out to the fact that there is another way of accessing knowledge or accessing information that pertains to the way we live in our world. Now I'm saying it can take a great leap of faith to say, hey, I'm sitting as the CEO of a company and I need to take a decision, and let me just take it because of a hunch. But if you notice, there are a lot of people in positions of power. To a certain extent, they actually use this way of making decisions also. I'm not saying discounting the intellect completely, discounting the memory completely. Yet there are alternative ways, and this is what the Yogasara Upanishad talks about. Pratihata Shakti. It has the power to impact the world, and the more we are able to harness it, recognize it, the more effective we become in all that we're doing. Yeah, does that make sense? But
That's what thinking out of the box is called. No?
absolutely.
Think out of the
Like
box. Consciousness.
it's like another portal from where you can get knowledge or understanding or something. Yeah, sounds really fascinating, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating. I'm getting goosebumps.
Well, Bakul. Rakesh, I think you're also unmuted.
yeah, it's the most fascinating thing I've heard, I feel. It's actually not doing something. It's actually going inside that can allow you to do something really which you have never done before or which you never knew before. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. Rakesh, you have unmuted for quite some time. Please go ahead.
Yeah, Kashi Dayaji. I was just thinking that, when we are talking about memory, there are a lot of positives to it as well, because all our education and all our learnings are also in memory. So we should not be really looking at it in a pessimistic way, rather how we can use our memory in a far more positive way to take our life forward from all our learnings in life. So the memory, we have to use that part of our memory, which is our learning, which will help us take our life in a more positive way forward. And if there are certain negative parts in that memory that is blocking us, then that is something that we need to work on. And that should be worked on in two fronts. One is, of course, the sadhanas that we do, the meditations that we do, which is a way that it works from within out. And the other way is, of course, using one's own free will. And this meditation also tries to bring in the witness attitude. So you're not connected to your memory and your mind, and you can actually connect it to whatever part of memory you want. So the meditations and the sadhanas are processes for you to achieve that witness attitude. And you step back from your memory and access those areas which are going to be positive and helpful for you. So I think we should look at it in a more holistic way than just one way. That was the way I would look at the whole concept of memory.
Absolutely. The thing is that we are so conditioned from childhood to have so much emphasis on memory. That's why I kept saying that it's not that I'm against the memory or that kind of thing, but it's the fact that when we recognize that there is much more to it. So it's not like replacing the memory or replacing the intellect, but we are being trained so much to use the intellect and memory all our life that we give it the primacy of the prime spot, so to speak. But there is another way of operating, and that is what all of these tools that we use, the meditation, the sadhana, the seva, satsang, singing, the devotion, all of this tends to bring up. And again, we don't have to make it into a very conscious practice. Oh, I am going to sit and not use the memory. I'm going to use the no. But I think as we go through life naturally, all of these things tend to come up so beautifully. And I think that is where having a guru makes us such a big difference, because it gives us something like a guide, like someone who has walked the path, and you can say, well, okay, that's I have an example to follow, so to speak.
True, so true.
So true.
See,
Okay.
this is a little bit, I don't know if it's not complex for you, but for me it is, that at some point in my artist philosopher life, I began to think that the world, you can't really change the world. You know, though you're saying, I mean, those words you used were very powerful, that you can have an impact on the world. I agree with that. But more important is your own inner transformation, which helps you see the world and accept it for what it is. So both things are going on at the same time. And that's when you keep the balance of both those things going on, then life moves forward. Very nice, you know? Did I make sense?
Totally. Okay, so I think we are already at 9:50. We have overshot by 20 minutes, but this is so fascinating. I just couldn't help myself. And I'm sure all of us enjoyed.
The plant has grown in the back, I can see, by 1 inch.
Yeah, it's actually a virtual background and it's all an illusion.
Oh, I thought it was real. Oh my gosh.
So
A
that's why
perception.
it's a perception
Oh.
that triggered some memory. So homework for today, like I said, let's look at our life and explore what that surrender means to us. Tomorrow we can go on for another homework. So throughout the day, whenever you find time, just recognizing that there is whatever is happening, I do have a hand in it, but it's not just me alone. There is something else also that's making everything tick. And just an awareness of this fact would be a great practice to do. And the second thing that the second homework for today is to just recognize the power of the consciousness, recognizing that there are so many things in this world that have come out of this consciousness. And instead of really like instead of trying to sit and make a list of everything that has come out, just going through life naturally, whatever we are doing, but once in a while just noticing, oh my god, all of this is just come out of the consciousness. That's the power of the consciousness. So I'll leave you with this homework for tonight and tomorrow. See you again.
I did meditation with Gurudev this morning.
It
was beautiful.
So
and
nice.
pranayama and meditation.
Excellent.
Really
Excellent.
good, yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Good night. Gute Nacht. Schlafen gut. Sleep tight. And